What we're going to do is, I would like to speak out outside. We're going to put some focus on the Shakla Vitaria outside, and then we're going to go inside. We're going to do a little bit backwards. Usually we do Shakla Vitaria at the end, but at that point, the brain is half off. So let's start. We're going to do Shakla Vitaria again. I encourage this half of your booklet is English. English is the Mama Lashon. So I encourage usage. I'm going to sit here with this, and let's try to get it right. Yeah? Ready to roll, Chavra? Okay, so we have a Mishnah. I'm gonna try to utilize the notes over here. I think it'll just help us all, and then we could try to, read them through. The Mishnah, we break down over here into four parts to the Mishnah. What are the four parts of the Mishnah? Number one are the places the Kahanim Shomer. Number two are the sleeping arrangements. Number three is what happens if a Kohen becomes Tameh. And number four is the lottery for the Chumas Hadeshin. If you remember those four details, you basically have the first Amud. Again, number one are the three places of Shemira. Number two is the sleeping arrangements. Number three is you become Tameh. Number four is the lottery for the Chumas Hadeshin. Again, over here, I break them down into, the big box on the left and the more boxes next to it. So if you look at the left, number one is three places Kahanim guard. Number two is sleeping arrangements. Then Kohen becoming Balkari, lottery for the Chumas Hadeshin. Now, once we know those four details, we can fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks. Three places. Of course, we know the three places. Beis of Tinas, Beis of Nitzas, and Beis of Maikad. Once we know the three places, then we go to the next step. And we ask ourselves, wait, what are the comparisons between the places? Beis of Maikad was big. Beis of Maikad had a kippah, Erev Tov. Beis of Nitzas, Beis of Tinas were two floors. That is part A of the Mishnah. Part B is the sleeping arrangements. So what do we know about the sleeping arrangements? We know there were rows of stone for the elderly Kohanim, and the younger Kohanim slept on the floor. And then we start discussing they didn't sleep in their clothing, rather they took it off and they put it, the Mishnah said, tachas, under their head, which we already by now know. Yeah, I have a second stool at home now, but not in my bag. Okay, we need a third one for the bag. We already know that whether they wore their begadim or not is a hotly contested topic. Number three is a Kohen becoming a Balkari, and now let's play it out. What happens when he becomes a Balkari? He goes to the tunnel. The tunnel has torches on both sides. He goes to the Beis HaTfilah. There's a fire there. There's a bathroom there. And there's a special bathroom, what we call a Beis HaKisei of Kavod. What was the Kavod? Door closed, door open, perfect. Part three of the Mishnah. Part four is the lottery. What's the lottery? The Mamayna would come and say, whoever went to the mikvah, come and be part of the lottery. That's the whole Mishnah. It's a very lengthy Mishnah. However, when you break it down into pieces, it's very not difficult. So those are the four dinim of the Mishnah. Now, we're just going to speak out outside the first part of the Gemara, and then we're going to read it together. The first part of the Gemara is the source. As always, the Mishnayos leads straight into the Gemara. The source for the places of Shemira, and we have two different sources. It's a long and lengthy pasuk, and we have a Abaye and Rav Ashi. We'll take it backwards. Rav Ashi is easier. It says the word Shmira 3 times in the pasuk. Shomer mishmeres limishmeres. That's Rav Ashi. Abaye, the way he learned it out from the pasuk, again, Moshe, Aaron, Ubanav. We split the pasuk in half, and then we know Moshe is the first half of the pasuk. Aaron, Ubanav is the second half of the pasuk. Aaron, Ubanav being 3 people, 3 places of Shemira. We just basically outside in 5 points went through the first blot of Gemara, really. Again, to say the 5 points, the 3 places of Shemira, the sleeping arrangements, a Kohen becoming Tameh, lottery for Chumas Hadeshin, sources for places of Shemira. Those 5 points is the whole blot. Once you have those 5 points, then you just break it down further. What were the 3 places and what are the differences and similarities? What were the sleeping arrangements, elderly versus young? What happens when he becomes Tameh? The tunnel, the fire, the bathroom. When's the lottery? Before the rooster crows, after the rooster crows? What are the two sources? Shomer Meshmeres, Limish Meres. I think that is pretty clear. With that, let's learn inside. And again, not pumping this because I wrote it. I just think it works. It is a good chazara to get the Shakvataria down pat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol anihi yavdei. With that, now let's take the Mishnah from the top. Now that we have outside, again, 5 points. Let's read it together. I'm going to read it a little bit faster. But again, if there's any word or detail that one does not know, now is the time to fill in those blanks. B'shleisha mekayimais in 3 places. The kind of Beis HaMikdash. The kind of watch of the Beis HaMikdash. Beis Avtina is number 1. Beis Hanitza is number 2. Beis HaMikdash number 3. Contrast the Mishnah. Beis Avtina is Beis Hanitza Hayaliyos were 2-floor structures. Harayvim, Young Kehanim, good word. Rayvim, Shemim Sham. Beis HaMikdash was Kippah, had a dome. Bais Gadolai, a large house. Mukav, surrounded by Rayvdin. Don't make a mistake, as Rayvim and Rayvdin. Rayvdin Shalaven, rows of stone. Ziknei Beis Avi Shenim Sham. The elderly Kahanim slept in the rows of stones. Maftechas Azar Biyadim, they're holding the keys. Pirchek Una, Ish Ksasoi Ba'aretz, each one with his clothing on the ground. And right away, when you're paying attention to the Mishnah, now you understand the glaring question that the Gemara discussed. Roivim, Pirchei Kahuna. 2 names for young Kehanim. The Gemara, we already know, discusses that. And the Gemara teaches different ages. Those who are sleeping are older, because they're going to do the Avodah the next day. Those that are guarding are younger, because they're not allowed to do the Avodah. Continues the Mishnah, you shouldn't big day kodesh. They didn't sleep in their holy vestments. Ella, what do? Hayapaisha, they take them off in the Nichon Tachas or Roshehem. Tachas, we already know, means what? Literally, it means under. We already know for the Gemara that it's not so simple that it's under, but rather it is next to their head. Very good. Excuse me.
The main reason for the guards is to like a respect to the Beis right? Then why don't we have guards during the day?
Who said we don't have guards during the day? They're there all day and night.
It sounds like by night.
Yeah, maybe yeah, maybe no. I have no clue. It's a good question. I don't know. We talk about night, but it would. I don't have a necessarily reason.
There's stuff going on.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. Yeah, that's why we spoke of the Chiddush. Beis Mikdash is locked at night. Correct. It is specifically like that. And still we know that they had Shmirah. That's where we spoke out that it's more of a covet. 100%. Continues the Mishnah. That's part A of the Mishnah. Again, part A, 3 places of Shmirah and sleeping arrangements. Part 1, part 2. Part 3, Ira, Kari, Lechamim, one of the Kayanim becomes Tamei. Yaitse, he exits, V'haylech, Loy, and he goes on top of Chavav Amid Aleph, V'mesiba, through a tunnel. Haylech is Loitachas Abir, that goes under the Bira. Good word. Bira means Beis HaMikdash. V'neir is Tolkas Mikan Makan, their candles burning neither side. Achu Magila Beis HaTfilah. Magia reaches, Achu Magia, until he reaches the Beis HaTfilah. Madura, he says, there was a fire there, basically, and there was a bathroom of honor. What was the honor? Matzah, no, if the door is closed, you know someone is in there. Patuach, if it's open, you know no one is there. Yardi goes down, Vatavli goes to the mik. Allah comes up, and Vinis Tabhei, he dries himself off. Vinis Chamim, and he heats himself up. Kineged ha medura, by the fire. Ba, he comes back. He sits next to his brothers Kahanim. Until when? Ad shahayu sha'arim niftachim, until the gates are open. Very good. He exits v'aylech lenikos. Part 3 of the Mishnah, or part 4 actually. Mishu writes a letter and says, and he wants to do the Trumat HaMizbeach, which is what? The separating of the ashes, not to be confused with the removal of all the ashes. It's just the Avodah taking off a little bit, as we already know for the end of the parak. They took the silver shovel, they cleared away the ashes, they took out 1 scoopful of ashes. Whoever wants to do that, what do? Mashkim. You got to get up early. What are you doing to get up early? V'toivel, you go to the mikvah. When? Actually, before the Memaina, the Kayin who is appointed at the Beis HaMikdash comes. Story time. When does the Memaina come? Says the Mishnah. Look, Lidim Shavais. He was not a Yaki. Pardon all the Yakis. He didn't always come at the same time. Sometimes he came when the rooster crows. Before or afterwards. What do you do? He knocked on the door. Ve'ein paschu, they opened the door loy for him. Amar lehen. Misha Tava, whoever went to the mikvah Yavu V'Yap is coming to be part of the lottery. Hey, pays they did the lottery. Misha Zacha, Zacha, boy. End of Mishnah. 4 dinim in the Mishnah. Places of Shmira, sleeping arrangements, becoming Tameh, raffle for the Trumas Hadeshen. Fill in the blanks. I think that is very clear. And we begin the Gemara. This whole Gemara is going to teach us one din. The source for the 3 places of Shemira. There are going to be 2 sources. One is going to be Abaye, one is going to be Rav Ashi. They're both going to learn it from the same pasuk. Says the Gemara, Minahani Mili Amar Abaye, Amar Kravachin of the Amishkan Kedma. Levnei Oyel Moyed, the encamped eastward from the Oyel Moyed Mizracha, from the east, Moshe Arnu Banam Shem Mishmar Zamisha, Mikdash Mishas Bnei Israel. End of pasuk. So, what do we see? We see a pasuk about Kehanim, and it says Shmira, Givaldik. It answers Amri again. Amri means a teretz in this Mesechtah. Amri, they said yes, correct. Shimur ba'alma ashkechan. We found that it means Shimur, deba'i, that you need. Kehanim leviim Shimur. Now, as you can tell, it's a little bit wordy on the side over here. They switch up the girsa. There's a few extra words in there. Kehanim leviim Shimur. Miu. However, what's the kasha? Masnisan Katani, what did the Mishnah say? How many places? Shloisha me'koimai zeganim shabisa mikdash. And the Mishnah in Midos adds on, V'haleviyim, Besav Echad Makah, 21 places. V'ilu Kran, what is the pasuk that we just quote say? Kohanim, Leviyim, V'hadi Adadik Sev, it says Moshe, Aaron, Ubanav, all of them are together. So asks the Gemara, how can you learn off of this pasuk? Over here it seems all the Kohanim and Leviyim are all lumped together. Amri, again, is an answer. Hachi Kamar, this is how you learn the pasuk. The teretz is, before we read it inside, you got to put a comma in the middle of the pasuk. And they came to front of the Mishkan, Mizracha, Moshe, Kama, Chaynim, they encamped. Who camped? Moshe, where? Eastward. V'hadar, and now finish off the pasuk. Aaron Ubanav did what? Shoimrim Mishmeres HaMikdash. They guarded the base HaMikdash. It's actually a place that you see, sometimes you wonder, in the Torah, does it really make a difference, the trop? This is like one of those cases that the grammar is critical. That comma makes this whole pshat. If you didn't have that comma after Moshe, if you were to read Moshe Aaron Ubanav, you get the whole thing wrong. It's Moshe Aaron Ubanav Shem Mishmeres HaMikdash. Givaldik. Aaron bechad makayim ubanav b'shnei mekaymais. Mimai, says the Gemara, beautiful, very nice. You did a wonderful poetic license, splitting the pasuk in half. But how do you know that's the right way to read the pasuk? Meidech siv, no, the pasuk itself shows you. The pasuk says ve'hachaynim uksiv, and it also says shaimrim. The first part of the pasuk is chaynim, encamped. Second part is shaimrim. Chaynim l'chod, v'shaimrim l'chod. Okay, beautiful. Besides the Gemara, still, how do you know Aaron and Banav were in different places? Maybe they were all having one party together. Ima kulu b'chad makam l'chudei. Maybe they were all together. Loi salka daitach. Don't think that. Ma Moshe b'chad makam l'chudei. Moshe is by himself. The first half of the pasuk. Af Aaron and Banav b'chad makam l'chudei. Mikar number 1 is Moshe Kama. Aaron Ubanav, Aaron is 1, Ubanav is 2, is 3, just like Moshe is singular, Aaron Ubanav is singular. The Makar for the 3 places of watching, Beis Avtinas, Beis Yisrael, Beis Hamikdash. Yes, Aaron Ubanav, very good. Everyone is separate, very good. Teretz number 1 of Abaye. Rav Ashi Amar, Misefa Dekra, says Rav Ashi, a much easier teretz. Shaimrim, Mishmeres, Lim Mishmeres, the word Shmira is mentioned 3 times. 3 Shaimrim. That is blot number 1. Again, we speak it out outside. We break it down into 5 simple pieces is this whole blot. 5 simple pieces. Again, I keep on glancing over here again just to remind everyone. The way that this works is the gray boxes are the big points, and then the boxes next to it are the explanations. If you remember the grays, you remember the big points, you could fill in the rest. What are the 5? Over here we start with the 3 places of Shemira. And then once you know 3 places of Shemira, okay, you start thinking Beis Hanitzos, Beis Hamikdash, Beis Avtinas. You start thinking further. What are the differences? Beis Hamikdash has a yarmulke, has a kippah, has a dome. Beis Avtinas, Beis Hanitzos, were elevated structures. Givaldik. Number 2 is what? Sleeping arrangements. Okay, what were the sleeping arrangements? We start thinking, okay, the elderly Kohanim were on the benches, young Kohanim were on the floor. They weren't sleeping in their big kuna. They took off their clothing, they put it under the head. It means under the head, it means next head. Gavaldik. Number 3 is Kain. Am I still not? No, I'm in the wrong place. Number 3 is Kain becomes a Baal Keri. What happens if Kain becomes a Baal Keri? Okay, goes into the tunnel, the fire's on both sides. There's a fire, there's a mikvah, there's a bathroom. Gavaldik goes back home, waits till the doors to be open. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Corner of the base of might be the staircase that goes down from there.
That's where this is, 100%. Where it comes from. Very good. Yes, it comes from the base of Maikad.
On the side.
So where it is, that's a big machlekes. They're taking sides over there. It's big machlekes where it is. Correct. Not Kodesh because very good. But that's a big machlekes. Good.
He's in the base of Mike.
Yeah. So he goes underground. The question is, where does he go underground? Correct. Very good. Now we continue, and the final din in the Mishnah is the lottery for the Chumas Hadeshim. End of the entire Mishnah. And the Gemara is 2 Makairis. What are the 2 Makairis? Okay, so we know Shaimrim, Mishmeres, and Mishmeres, second Makar. First Makar was what? Moshe Aronabanav. Moshe Aronabanav, then we can conjure out the Shakvataria. That is literally a full blot of Gemara in your back pocket. Let's someone didn't like what I said, he clicked off the share. Okay, let's turn over. However, we have to make sure to do the Chazar. Let's make sure to do the Chazara, but I think it's clear, so let's turn over to Chavav and Beis, and let's go into the next Gemara. The next Gemara takes about 2 minutes, and then we'll have a few minutes for everyone to try to read a little bit themselves. The next Gemara is, we have 3 places of Shmira, right? Beis HaMaikad, Beis HaTinas, Beis HaNitzitz. Beis HaMaikad large with a kippah, people sleeping there. Beis HaTinas, Beis HaNitzitz, elevated structures. Now we have to ask a question about elevated structures. What's the question? What type of elevated structures? Were they 2 floors, one on top, one on bottom? Or was it like an elevated porch with nothing underneath? What's the teretz of the Gemara going to bring? Bring a raya from the pasuk that says what? Then remember? What do we see from the psukim? Oh, that it was 2 stories. Where do we see that? Who's on top and bottom are? Oh, very good. Kahanim and Levim. If Kahanim and Levim, one's on top, one's on bottom, clearly it's a real 2 stores. Yeah, a little bit of lag on the video. Okay. No. Beis HaDinas and Beis HaNitzos. Ibailu. Ask the Gemara. So we just spoke out the next 14 lines of the Gemara. Ibailu. Let's see it together. Inside Aliyah's Mamish Havu. Were they actual Aliyahs? So they were just elevated structures. Were they 2 floors? Were they elevated structures? Givihi Migba Ke'aliyahs. High and raised like aliyahs. Tashima, we bring a raya. Detanan. Shabbat Safain on the north. Shara Nitzoitz. Kimin Achsadraya. It was like an Achsadra, like an elevated platform. Va'aliyah B'nuyal Gaba, and there was an elevated area on it. That what? And this is the raya. Shakayanim Shaimir Milmala. Va'alviyah Milmata. So that's clearly a raya that it was a real 2-floored area. Pesach Hayla, and there was a doorway into the chol. Period. End of raya. Now, once we get on to this pasuk about Kehanim on top and Levim on bottom, this is now mamish a segue for the next few lines. Minani Mili, where do we know this from? Meaning, where in the psukim do we know this? But again, this kasha has really nothing to do with our Gemara. We're bringing a raya that the Kehanim and Levim did some level of shmira together. Kehanim on top, Levim on bottom. That's not our sugya. That's a sugya in Midas. Let's just keep clear. Our sugya is the Kehanim. And we just wanted to know, these elevated areas were just elevated or was it 2 floors? We answered our question that it was 2 floors. With that answer, we say, 1 second, what's the makar for that din? Which is a din in Mesechus Midas, but in classical Gemara form, we segue into it. Says the Gemara, Menahani Mili, Titana Rabbanan, says the Pasuk, V'ilavu alecha v'sharsucha, that they're going to accompany you and serve with you. This is a pasuk talking to Kahanim and Leviim, doing something together. So b'avoidascha kasem medaber. So about your avoida. Says Gemara, 1 second. Timer, you say b'avoidascha kasem medaber. Oyin ela b'avoidasam. How do you know? Is it Kahanim and Leviim doing the kohen work together or the Levi work together? When we have a second pasuk that says, "V'nilvu alecha v'shamru l'chol kila v'chol avoidasai harei avoidasam," the Levi's avoida. Amor Hamani mekayim, the first pasuk v'lavu alecha v'sharsucha b'avoidascha kasem medaber the kohen's avoida. Now, how can a Levi help the kohen in his avoida? That's ridiculous. A Levi can't do the bring up a carbon. A Levi can't do the zrika. What can he do? Shemira, very good. Hakitz and Kohanim, Shemim Mil Mela. Whoa. And the Leviim Mil Mata.
The question is, whose avodah is the shmira?
It's the Kohanim. It's very good. It's really both.
Right,
But the Gemara's point is,
whose original avodah is it? Is it the
correct. It's both. Now, in these psukim, it means the Kohanim. We're talking to Leviim. No, you're right. No, but he's asking if you look at the psukim, it's the Leviim helping the Kohanim. So in these psukim, we're talking about the Kohanim. Right. That in these psukim, that's talking about. But again, you get a little nitty gritty in the psukim. It's very simple, really. We have a pasuk saying Kohanim and Leviim do something together. We have another pasuk saying doing something together. So what do they do together? It has to be that's doing the Shemira. That is our Makar. That's Beisatinas, Beisamitzar elevated. That's what it seems. I actually wonder the exact thing it gives you. That's what it seems.
Like Beres Kahanim, how did we get the whole water?
No, so it is very interesting. So you bring up a good point. Beres Kahanim and Leviim are singing. But clearly it's not called the same avoida. It's interesting because the Leviim were singing and the Kahanim were giving the bracha. They're
now they wash their hands.
Yeah. But they do many things, which is what he was saying. They wash their hands. The Leviim do a lot of things, but clearly it doesn't get the shame of the avoida of the Levi doing with the Kohen, which is interesting, very interesting. But that's what it is. Okay, Chavra, we're Bladnef in. Again, let's get it outside, let's get it inside. But let's try to read it. We have 2 minutes to Ma'ariv. Let's try to read it. Emirza Hashem.